Hello ladies and gents. In this video we will see how we can use binding templates in UI5. Sometimes before we bind an aggregation we might need additional data from backend, or we need some custom logic before we bind the aggregation. Imagine, for example, first you need to fetch the rows of the current user so that you can fetch and show only the relevant products. Fortunately, instead of binding aggregations directly in XML, we can also do it programmatically. To do that, let's go back to our app and open our work list view and find our table here and find our column list item and remove it from the items aggregation and instead add it as a dependent to our table. And how we can do that is we can simply change this items to dependents, and now it's just a dependent. And if we check our app, we shouldn't see a list because we should have an error which would be about a missing template or factory function. And this is very understandable because if we check our items binding here, we still have this path and parameters and sorter. So the UI5 knows where to fetch the data, but we no longer have our template in our items aggregation, so it doesn't know what to display basically. Now let's go back to our controller and see how we can bind our aggregation programmatically. We go to worklist controller and on init, here at the bottom, let's say bind items. And first we access our table. So this dot get view and by ID, and our ID should be table. And then we call the method bind aggregation on it. And the first attribute will be the name of the aggregation. In our case, it's items. And next we pass in an object. First property will be the path of the binding. I remember it was /products. And next we have a sorter. We can create a new sorter and let's import it first because we don't have it. It will come from SAP UI model sorter before the filter here. And if we check our binding, here our sorter was sorting by product name ascendingly. So here we pass in product name first and false for ascending. Let's add a comment here as well. So this is a boolean for descending. And next we have some expand parameters. So we say parameters here, which is an object, and we have the expand. Let's also copy it here from our XML. And lastly we need to pass in our template, and we can access it simply by this .get view .by ID, and I think we haven't assigned it an ID yet, so let's do that. Here is our template. Let's say ID equals ID item template and copy it, paste it here. And since we are doing the binding programmatically, we should remove it here from our XML. So let's remove the items part completely. Let's save. And if I just comment out this part before trying it out, our app should still work since we removed the binding in our XML, but we have no binding, so our list is empty. Now let's open this up again. And now if we check, everything is working as before. What we can also do is we can create our template programmatically instead of referencing it here. So let's see how that would work. Here we would create a new column list item. And let's see what properties we have for our template. Here we have type navigation. So first let's set that. Or even better, we can also import this as a list type navigation. So let's import this type. Maybe here SAP list type. Next, let's see, we have a press event handler. So we say press, and we need to pass a reference to our event handler, which is named onPress here. So let's copy that, and we say this dot onPress and dot bind this, so that this keyword points to our controller inside the event handler. And next we have our cells, which is an array. And let's see what we have. First we have an object identifier. So we create a new SAP dot, actually let's also import that. Maybe here. And this is getting crowded, so let's break it into multiple lines. And the title for our object identifier should be this right here. And let's see what else we have. Next we have a text for the category name. Let's copy this. So we create a new text next. And the text attribute will be this. Let's also import this. What else? We have another text for the supplier. Let's duplicate this. And next is an object status, which we also need to import. New object status. And what do we have as properties? We have the text with this value. Maybe it's better to break this into multiple lines. And then we should have a state with this value. And what else? Maybe a number. Yes, an object number, two numbers actually. So let's quickly import the number as well. And here, new object number. Again, we should have a number and a state. And this is our number. And this will be our state. And let's duplicate this for the last cell. Number is a bit more complex. It is an object this time, so we don't need double quotes. And instead of state, we have unit, which is hard-coded as USD. We can save and remove our template here along with the dependent segregation tags. And since this is plain old JavaScript, you can have any custom logic you want here, so it's way more flexible than using XML. If we check, we have an error. Column list item is not defined. Did we forget to import it? Looks like it. Let's do it here. It's also in the M library. If we check again, here another error, value state 0. We probably have a formatter for that. Let me take this back. Yes, exactly. So the formatter we have to point using JavaScript here instead of passing in a string. So we can say this dot formatter not format stack status, and again this is an object, so we need to remove double quotes. Now let's save, remove this again. Now it's looking much better. We have some more errors here. For example, this one, it says that we need to import the library.js file instead of directly importing the list type. So let's quickly do that as well to be thorough. And here, instead of list type, we will import the library.js. Actually, let's move this all the way down. And here is the list type. Instead, we will call this library or mobile library, whatever you want. And here, where we use the list type, we should say mobile library.listtype.navigation. And in here, we can simply say this.formatter, because remember, we import our formatter. Where is it? Here, and set it as an instance on our controller. And now if we check, we should see less errors. Still some stuff, but we can just ignore. And our app is working as usual. So that would be all for this video. Thank you all for watching and hope to see you in the next one.